Good evening to all of you. So I welcome all of you to my class on mass spectrometry analyzers. So here in the mass spectrometry analyzers, so we are going to see various types of analyzers and what are all the parameters that we have to focus, and then their advantages and disadvantages. Okay. So basically, so this is the actual layout of a mass spectrometer. So in this, we have seen the sample inlet methods and ion sources, and now we are here. Okay, so we are going to understand the concepts of mass analyzer. Basically, a mass analyzer, because in mass spectrometry, what is happening? In the beginning, you'll be giving a sample and the sample will be converted to ions. So these ions will have to now they have to be separated into different sectors based on their mass. Okay, because when you are giving energy, there is a possibility that the molecule can get degraded to different parts. You can have molecular ion and you also can have fragment ions. So they are all supposed to be separated. So mass analyzers are almost like optical monochromators. You know the meaning of monochromator, okay? Like a prism. If you take a prism, if you let the light fall on it, it will be separated into 7 colors. Okay, V, I, B, G, Y, O, R, with GR. So it is like that. So here, what is it that we are giving? We are giving a beam of ions and to the mass analyzer, so that mass analyzer will do something to the mixture of ions, and it will use the principle to separate it. Okay, it is like that. So the two main properties of mass analyzers that we have to focus all the time are they are able to distinguish between very small mass difference. That means it should be able to differentiate two ions which are close as far as their molecular mass is concerned. And the second thing is it must allow a sufficient number of ions to pass through to give readily measurable ion currents. Means its scan time must be reasonable, at least reasonable, so that more number of samples can be submitted, more number of ions can be submitted. So these are the two properties. Sometimes these are not entirely compatible. So we have different types of analyzer section is there. The interesting thing is you don't need accurate mass and quick scanning all the time. Sometimes you may be needing high throughput screening. Sometimes you may be needing very accurate mass. Not always together. Okay, so that's the reason why, depending upon your requirement, you can choose appropriate analyzer. So here we have analyzers for every requirement. So absolutely no problem. As I told you in the beginning, mass spectrometer is completely customizable. Starting from sample inlet to ionizer to analyzer to detector, all these segments can be completely customizable. So depending upon your requirement, you can order customized instrument. It is like that. So parameters to describe mass analyzer. Whenever we choose a mass analyzer, the first thing that we have to focus is resolution. Okay, so resolution is usually calculated like R is equal to M by delta M. Okay, so it is like that. In simple terms, resolution is to describe the ability of a mass analyzer to separate adjacent ions. Adjacent ions means when you have two peaks like this. So if this is 291 and this is 292, the resolution is 1. Okay, so if you have 291.0008, 291.0015, then where is the resolution? So resolution is at the 4th digit. means 0.0001. At that level, it is able to differentiate. This is a very high resolution instrument. This is low resolution instrument. It is like that. Okay. So they have their own advantages. The second one is mass accuracy. So the ability of a mass analyzer is to assign the mass of an ion close to its true mass. It means a mass analyzer need to provide dependable outcome all the time. Dependable outcome. Okay. So it must be rugged. Third one is mass range. Mass range is a very, very important item, an important entity, because if you see the type of the organic compounds or inorganic compounds that we come across in biological systems, they can be as simple as adrenaline, noradrenaline, etc., and they can be as complicated as immunoglobulins. Okay, so when you use appropriate ionizer, which can ionize a very complicated molecule, even a very complicated molecule, you need to have an appropriate mass analyzer to handle that that molecule, to provide molecular weight appropriately. Okay, so that's the reason why mass range is very, very important. Fortunately, we have a decent set of analyzers are available for covering almost all types of molecular weights. The next one is sensitivity. Sensitivity is a critical parameter which decides application of a mass analyzer for specific experimentations. Sensitivity is the ability of a particular instrument to respond to a given amount of analyte. Okay, so it need to respond to lowest possible concentration. Okay, it must be sensitive. Then comes scan speed. So here comes a very important issue. The scan speed need to be very, very quick. The reason is, let's say when you have an instrument, it does the scanning for 1 second, okay, and it needs 1 second to come back to normalcy so that we can start scanning again. If this is the situation, you have to at least wait for 2 seconds for every scan. Okay, so then it is fine. Let's say if you have an instrument which is very, very super fast, where it can analyze the sample in 1 millisecond, and it does not need much time to come back. Maybe it needs 1 millisecond to come back to normalcy. Okay, so for scanning it will go and then it has to come back again. As far as the electronics is concerned, the tuning will work over there. Okay, so total 2 millisecond is what it is, 2 milliseconds only. So this can scan very fast. So that's the reason why we can make use of this type of analyzers in high throughput screening mechanism, wherever and whenever we require high throughput screening. So there we can use, like when we integrate an analyzer to HPLC, a mass spectrometry to HPLC, because from HPLC the liquid is coming continuously outside. So when you are getting the eluent continuously at a particular flow rate of 1 ml per minute, so you have to do the analysis continuously. It must be continuous. So scan speed must be very, very fast, so that for every 1 second or 2 seconds we can have a scan without any problem. The third one is tandem mass spectrometry. It means mass by mass, means a mass spectrometry. Okay, so where in the ionizer section we will get the ions generated, but when the ion is generated, if we have a capability to again provide energy to the ion to further let it degrade, a selected ion to further let it degrade, so that is what we call it as mass by mass, where the ionization happens twice. The second one is not truly ionization, but we provide energy. So if there is some technical facilitation is there, in an analyzer section. So that immensely helps us. So for example, we have triple quadrupole, means a quadrupole can be integrated to another quadrupole through some kind of a technical facilitation, okay, where energy is again provided to the ion so that it will further degrade. Okay, so that type of a scanning is possible. Again, the second thing is in QTOF, a quadrupole can be connected to a time of flight analyzer. Two analyzers can be connected to each other. In the middle, you will have a facilitation, a facility where energy is provided to a selected ion. So it is like that. So if that type of a possibility is there, so that also helps a mass analyzer. Okay, utilization of mass analyzer can be further enhanced. So these are the parameters one has to focus on whenever we choose a mass analyzer: the resolution, mass accuracy, mass range, sensitivity, scan speed, tandem mass spectrometry possibility. Okay. The next one is the types of commonly used mass analyzers that we have in mass spectrometry region. Okay, so there are so many modifications are there. I'm giving you only those which are very, very popular, where 90% of or more than 90% of mass spectrometers that are right now in use are using one or the other or combination of one or two of these analyzers. First and one of the oldest is magnetic sector mass analyzer. One of the oldest mass analyzer is magnetic sector mass analyzer. The second one is time of flight mass analyzer. Third and very, very popular analyzer is quadrupole mass analyzer. Next one is orbit trap mass analyzer, quadrupole ion trap mass analyzer, and this is ion cyclotron resonance mass spectrometry mass analyzer. So here this is a completely different kind of a principle is that we will discuss about each one of them separately. Okay, so these are the 6 mass analyzers that are there in the market right now. In every one of the category, including magnetic sector, we have double focusing. In case of time of flight, we have multiple reflector time of flight analyzers are there, and then hybrid analyzers were also there. In case of quadrupole is there, hexapole is there, octapole is there, and that is integrated into another quadrupole. So triple quadrupole is also there. In orbit trap, and in case of quadrupole, ion trap is there, and FTIC are there. So in each one of them, we will see their basic principle and how it is useful to us, and then if any modifications are there, that also we will see. We go ahead with mass spectral analyzers. Again, in case of mass analyzers, one more comparison we have to do. As I told you, in each one of the analyzer, what we have to focus on: their resolution, their sensitivity, the mass range, scan speed, etc. So if you consider all these mass analyzers and when you compare it, so in case of magnetic sector, mass range is about 15 kD, resolution power is about 100, and then mass accuracy is 125, means it is not very much accurate. Abundance sensitivity 10 power 6, scan speed 0.1 to 20 Hz, means scans per second. 20 scans per second means 1/60th second is needed. Efficiency is less than 1. Dynamic range is 10.9. MS by MS capability means it can be integrated to other mass spectral analyzers. Okay, so LCMS adaptability is not there. We cannot integrate LCMS with magnetic sector because its scan speed is very, very slow. Second one is quadrupole. So here the mass range is actually up to 4000 only. Resolution power is 4000 because as you are increasing resolution power, so its efficiency is increasing. Okay, mass accuracy is 100, and then 10 power 4 to 10 power 6. Its mass accuracy is less than actually the magnetic sector. But if you see the MS by MS capability is great, and GCMS applicability is excellent. Okay, so directly you can integrate quadrupole with HPLC. Ion cyclotron, TOF is there, and then FTICR is also there. So if you compare these analyzers, in case of Fourier transformation, FTICR, if you see the mass range, it is greater than 10 power 4. And if you see resolution power is greater than 10 power 6. Greater than 10 power 6 means it can go up to 0.000001, up to this one. Okay. So theoretically, not practically, up to this mass range we can achieve. So that's the reason why FTICR can provide you HRMS, high resolution mass spectrometer. LCMS can be connected to FTICR. Now we have LCMS that were connected to FTICR are there. For TOF and quadrupole, okay, TOF and quadrupole, several instruments are available in the market. Okay, so friends, this is the way how we can compare. But one more thing is we have to also see the pricing. So magnetic sector is the most affordable. Next comes quadrupole. Okay, magnetic sector is the most affordable analyzer. Next comes quadrupole. Next comes TOF. Next comes FTICR. Okay, FTICR alone. So FTICR containing mass spectrometer will cost about 2 crores. Okay, 2 crores. Whereas magnetic sector containing mass spectrometer, even if it is integrated to GCMS, it costs about 25 to 40 lakhs. Complete setup along with GC. Okay, so that's the reason why this is the most affordable mass analyzer. Now let's see the magnetic sector mass analyzer. Okay, so this is the actual layout of magnetic sector mass analyzer, where if you closely observe, ionization is happening here. Ionizer will be there, usually EIMS or any other, but normally in the market you will be able to see electron impact mass spectrometers. 99.99% of the cases they will contain magnetic sector separator. Okay, so from here ions are generated. Now it is sent to a tube containing. Okay, so it is moving like this, and this entire area is under very high vacuum of -6 star range. Then when a charged particle, when it is moving, what will happen? Charged particle is moving. It induces magnetic field around it. When a charged particle, when it is moving, it behaves like, because it induces magnetism in the magnetic field in the environment when it is moving. So it will have properties of a magnet. Then when it is moving with certain velocity, because as you all knew, after ionization what will happen? You will have a slit, or it will create something like ion beam. Then we will have accelerator. Okay, through voltage difference, the ions whatever are generated over here, they will give a thrust, so that the ions are going to be moving in this direction with the specific velocity. Okay, so velocity depends upon the charge of the ion as well as the voltage difference that we are applying over here. Let's say we are generating here positive ions. We will have negative charge will be there on the accelerator plates. So thereby positive ion will be attracted towards the plates, and then they will achieve a fixed velocity, because when there is a slit here, So that's the reason why they will escape through that. Some of them may fall here and they will die. The remaining ions, they will move in this direction. So this is what we call it as ion beam. This concept we have seen in the last class. And when they are moving, as they are behaving as magnets, then when we apply magnetism orthogonally, what will happen? Either here or otherwise in this direction, when we apply magnetic field, what will happen? It will lead to deflection. It will lead to deflection. So this deflection will bend the pathway into will change the pathway from linear to curvature. So it is moving like this. So when something is moving and then when it is shifting its pathway, what will happen? Two forces are going to act on the body. One is pulling the body inside the curve. One is forcing the body to move out of the curve because it is somewhat due to moment of inertia. Okay, so centrifugal force, centripetal force. So when centrifugal force and centripetal force are applied, so in whichever way more force is there, it will bend. In that direction, it will bend. Okay, so it is like that. It is a very simple logic that we had learned in most probably 10th class or intermediate. Okay, it's not a rocket science. It's a simple concept. So when it is bent, we all knew that if we have a heavy ion and a lighter ion, which one can be easily deflected? Which one can be easily deflected? Both are provided with same energy. Okay, so heavier molecule cannot travel with very high velocity because same energy is given, half mv square. If same energy is given, mass and velocity are inversely proportional. So that's the reason why it can be deflected easily. Whereas the lighter particle will deflect at a different angle. So in that way, if you have a detector plate over here, the ions will hit, and then when you this will give you the signal. Okay, so if it is hitting over here, it starts from 0 to 100. Let's say if this is the scale. If something is hitting over here, the molecular weight is less. Something is hitting over here, the molecular weight is more, and the scale will be calibrated. So thereby you can easily translate this incidence into a molecular MZ value. Okay, so this is in simple how magnetic sector mass analyzer works. Okay, then in magnetic sector mass analyzer, as I told you, the first thing that happens is in the ion source, ions are generated, ions will be submitted to acceleration, and then that gives kinetic energy to the molecule. So kinetic energy is a simple formula, half mv square. Half mv square is a Newtonian physics, because when you take mass and velocity of a particle, when you take it into consideration. So when you take into consideration the charge and voltage difference, because that is the energy that is provided, ZV will come. Okay, and m is the mass of the ion, v is the velocity of the ion in the pathway, z is the charge on the ion, v is applied voltage of the ion optics. Okay, accelerator plates. So if you rearrange this equation, v is equal to under root 2zv by m. Okay, so this is the formula for initial energy that is provided to the molecular ion or the ion. Now the ion will enter into the flight tube. We call it as a flight tube because where the vacuum is there and the ions are allowed to freely move. Okay, so when they are deflected by magnetic field B, so only ions of mass to charge ratio, same mass to charge ratio, shall have equal centripetal and centrifugal forces. Same molecular ion, molecular weight, same weight containing bodies will face obviously same centrifugal and centripetal forces. Okay, so this is the mv square by r is the centrifugal force. Bzv is the magnetic field that is applied. Z is the charge. V is the voltage that we have applied at the ion optics. R is the radiation curvature. Radius of curvature. So if you rearrange all these things, you will get m by z is equal to br by under root 2zv by m. And when you substitute v values over here, m by z will become b square r square by 2v. So this is the formula we use to predict to determine m by z value of an ion. Okay, so when you fix the magnetic field and radius by tuning voltage, we can find out what kind of molecular ion can deflect at a particular place. Or we can also tune the B value or the magnetism, because the magnetic field that is applied over there, they are electromagnets. So that's the reason why by simply tuning the flow of current, we can alter the magnetic field. So that's the reason why R cannot be changed, okay? Because we fix some R value. So we have to play with B or B. 99.99% of the cases, B value is tuned. So in that way, the molecular ion or m by z value can be determined. So ultimately, this is the formula that we have: m by z is equal to b square r square by 2b. So in magnetic sector, as I told you, tandem is possible to some extent. So one of the possibility is double focusing, where the magnetic sector, two magnetic sectors are combined to each other through a slit, so that the ions that are generated over here, they will be submitted to another mass analyzer. So here what will happen is, let's say we have 10 ions are there. So when you send them through the magnetic sector, they were segregated into 1, 1, 1, 1, 3, 2, 1. It is like this. Then if we send these ions again through the second mass analyzer, one will be one only, two will this one is fine. When you send two into the second mass analyzer, this will also become, these ions will also be resolved. Here also it is like that. Okay, so in that way, double focusing increases resolution. Okay, so that is the advantage with the magnetic sector. This is one of the oldest, but the problem here is when you go for double focusing, the instrument will become so big. Second thing is, when you are adding one more magnetic sector, that region also has to be maintained with vacuum. So huge load will be there on the vacuum for vacuum maintenance. Okay, so that is the issue. One is the size, price will be affordable only, but the problem is with the technicality. Okay, vacuum is to be maintained. So friends, this is the way how magnetic sector mass analyzer helps us in separation of the ions, so that we can get the molecular weights or m by z values for a given sample. So this has decent range is there up to 15 kD, but the scan speed is very slow. So that's the reason why we cannot easily integrate this one with the HPLC. That's the only issue. So that is about the magnetic sector. Okay, so we'll go to the next one, that is time of flight. Are you able to understand magnetic sector, its principle and its application, advantages and disadvantages? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. So let's move on to the time of flight mass analyzer. So today we are going to discuss only the magnetic sector and time of flight only. Okay, don't worry. The second one is the time of flight mass analyzer. So here time of flight is what we have to understand. This is one of the simplest of the principles that one can understand. Here, it's very simple. As I told you, when ions are generated, okay, when ions are generated, like, okay, let's represent them like this. Okay, when ions are generated and when they were submitted to acceleration, okay, some are small, some are big. Okay, when they are submitted to acceleration, they were all provided with the same energy. Okay, so kinetic energy formula is half mv square is equal to ZB. This is the energy that is provided to each of the ion. Okay, when this is fixed, then when you vary mass, what will happen to velocity? Here, mass is inversely proportional to velocity. So velocity means x by t, means distance traveled by time. Okay, so this is the simple logic. Let's say if you have a very heavy ion, m1 is far greater than m2. Then when we are providing energy ZB in half mv square, okay, what will happen? M value, if you reduce, what will happen to V? V will significantly increase. Means it can move at a very high velocity. So that's the reason why it can cover more distance in less time. Okay. So then now we allow these ions to participate in the running race. Okay, in the running race, who will win? Smaller particle or bigger particle? Smaller particle will have very high velocity, so it can go and reach the target very easily, earlier than the next one and then the next one. Okay, heavier particle takes reasonably more time. So that's how we can, by using the time of flight, we can segregate ions into their m by z values, their mass value. Okay, so it is in simple, that is, it is the way how time of flight works. So in the time of flight mass spectrometry, okay, you will have three segments. One is the source segment, then you will have drift region, then you will have the detector region. So here one need to calibrate top mass, because after once the ions are generated, they will be allowed to drift up to some extent, and then you will have the accelerator plates, so that from here they will start running. So every one of the mass has to be calibrated. So this is the equation. Okay, U is the half mv square, ZeV is equal to half mv square. So if you go and squeeze out m by z is equal to k into t power 3. So in TOF, resolution is directly proportional to time of flight. As you all knew, if you increase the time of flight, let's say if you have two persons are there, when you ask them to run for only 5 meters, you may hardly be able to separate two persons, or you may hardly be able to find out their efficiency. But if you ask them to run for 50 meters, then you can easily see that they can be separated very easily. That's what we can see in 100-meter race. Okay, the first one, second one, third one. Okay, first one, second one, and third one hardly differ by 0.01 second. It is the case. Okay, maybe it is like 9.89, 9.85, 9.83, 83. It looks like this. Okay, but when you look at the marathon race, marathon race like 24 kilometers or 30 kilometers, something like that. First one will come at 3 hours 25 minutes. Second one will come at 3 hours 15 minutes. The next one 3 hours 10 minutes. Okay, this is the first rank, first, second, and third. It is like that. The gap is so huge. So in the same way, we apply here the same logic because we are giving same energy. So if you increase time of flight, it can greatly increases the resolution of the instrument. Okay, because ion is very small. So if you have a tube like this, so you are asking it to run in this direction. Okay. Okay. So if you increase the length, you are going to increase the time of flight. So thereby you can increase the resolution. Okay. So friends, I hope I made myself clear here. Resolution part. The next one is, how can you improve resolution and what type of instruments are right now being used? Okay, so here, as I told you, when you have an ionizer here, ions are there, and you are asking them to run. So run in this direction. So here, if you have a detector, it is fine. But if you wanted to increase the length further, will you have a huge tube? So this is more like a linear, okay, linear top. Means you need to have a huge tube like to the length of Eiffel Tower. So instead, what scientists were doing is you you let the ion to run, okay, to this distance, and then here you will keep a reflector. If this is positively charged, here you will have positive charge. The plate will be there, so it will be reflected. The ion will be there will be repulsion between positive and positive charge. So that's the reason why it will come back, and then here again you will have a reflector. It will go back, and then it will come back, and it will go back, and then you will have here detector. Okay, you will have a detector over here. So by the time it reaches, the ion reaches detector, how many times it has crossed the tube? It is moving from end to end 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. 6 times. So as I told you, the resolution depends on directly proportional to time of flight. So resolution can be increased by 6 times by making use of reflectrons. Okay. So here, what are these reflectrons? It is not like our mirror. Okay. So these are all ionic. Let's say these are positively charged ions. All these are concentric plates which are of equal charge. Okay. So if the ion is positively charged, here we apply positive charge. So thereby, when it is coming nearer and nearer and nearer, what will happen? Because of reflection, because of repulsion, what will happen? The ion is coming like this and it will run away. It will run away. Okay, so it happens like this. And then you can have multiple reflectrons. As I told you, multiple reflectrons, so that you can let the ion run from end to end multiple times, so that you can increase the resolution. So that is the job of reflectron. So it is like this. When you plot the energy, so here in the beginning you don't have kinetic energy, and then the moment you got the when you are in the drift tube, you are moving like this, and again when you are close to the opposite charge, positively charged environment, positive charge and positive charge cannot live together. Okay, so that is the place where we have very high energy is increasing, and then it wanted to shift back, it will come back. Okay, so this is the way how it will flip-flop from side to side. So in the beginning, the ion is exposed to the accelerator plates, high energy, and it is going to reflectron, high energy, and it is going to come back. So in this way, ion will always run from end to end till it reaches the detector. Okay. So friends, we have in tandem mass spectrometry, because TOF also can be integrated into other analyzers. So here, this is in simple linear TOF. Okay. And in the second case, we have TOF integrated to TOF. This is one TOF. This is one TOF, and this is the second TOF. In between, it is integrated through collision cell. As I told you, one of the ion, whatever is coming over here, will be provided with energy so that the fragmentation happens over here, so that the ions are submitted for further analysis. So here you will have the reflectron, so that detector will be over here. And this setup is actually triple quad. I gave you this as an example. Quadrupole and quadrupole, in between we have collision cell. Okay, this is the setup for triple quadrupole. So the last quadrupole is removed. And that can be replaced by TOF. So this setup is what we call it as Q TOF. Okay. So this is the way how time of flight mass spectrometry can segregate ions efficiently, and also it has the capability to integrate with itself or with other analyzers in order to improve applicability. Okay. So here, when we integrate, what will happen? We will have the capability to perform parent ion scan, daughter ion scan. Means in the mass spectrometry, let's say if you have a mass spec, okay, so here is one molecule is there. This is M1. So here some X fragment is there over here. You wanted to know whether M1 is actually giving this X. When X is actually daughter ion of M1 or not, or M1 is the parent ion of X or not. That is what we need to understand. Then what we will do, we will allow only M1 to pass through this one. Only M1 to pass through this one. Okay, in the first one. Then what will happen, because in case of quadrupole, we can easily segregate ions based on their molecular MZ value. Then we allow the M1 ion to go through the collision cell over here, so that it will be fragmented. The ions will be submitted for TOF analysis. And then here in the spectrum, not all the peaks will come. Okay, if this X is a fragment of M1, X will appear in the final spectrum. If X is not coming in the final spectrum, where M1 is degraded, M1 is submitted for mass spectral analysis, then we can say X is not a fragment obtained from M1. It is like that. It is like this. So this type of mass by MS analysis is possible. Okay. So friends, TOF is one of the versatile techniques that we have right now in the field of pharmacy, which is very, very useful. And TOF has changed several fields. One is proteomics. Okay. So we will see the applications of TOF and their significance in the field of pharmacy as well as in other fields while discussing about this one, quadrupole analyzer, because QTOF will come over there. So there we can see in detail the applications of TOF as well as quadrupole over there. Okay. Is it clear to all of you? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Is it clear or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
fine. So far what we have seen today is the magnetic sector analyzer and time of flight. Okay. So in the next class, we will see quadrupole, orbit trap, orbital ion trap, and FT-ICR. Okay. So friends, with this I conclude my seminar. Thank you all for your patient listening.